having sex with Homolka, holding a knife to her head.
Images to describe the living hell that Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French went through during the last days and hours of their lives.
14-year-old Leslie Mahaffey was abducted, raped, killed, and dismembered 6 months later.
In February of 1991, a young couple moved to this quiet street in St. Catharines, Ontario, where they drugged, raped, and murdered young girls. The wife, Carla Homolka, bargained a manslaughter plea and became the key witness at the murder trial of her husband, Paul Bernardo. In the long summer of 1995, Canada would finally learn of the horrors that took place here at 57 Bayview. The media dubbed it the trial of the century, and the public clamored for details. The nation was both fascinated and repulsed. Feeding that appetite, an army of journalists. At the center of the media storm were two lawyers. Crown Prosecutor Ray Houlihan was low-key and withdrawn. His opponent, big city defense specialist John Rosen, was a media favorite from day one.
The Crown told the jury Bernardo would cut Leslie's body into 10 pieces using a circular saw.
For many of the journalists who covered this trial, this story would be the highlight of their careers.
The Crown called it star witness.
When it was over, some would describe it as a trip to hell and back. The networks set up broadcast locations in a parking lot across the street from the courthouse, an area that soon became known as Camp Bernardo.
Allegations so horrifying they are painful to contemplate, allegations that many may not want to hear. Ben Chen. For 2 or 3 years now we've been carrying around a lot of secrets, things that we were prohibited from reporting, and now all of a sudden we can. In one way it's very liberating. In another way, you've been carrying, and they are horrendous details. This is the first time you have to really start thinking about what you should report and what you shouldn't. And you don't want to censor yourself, but at the same time you know that there are some graphic details that are just absolutely gratuitous and the public doesn't need to know it. So this is my story that I just sort of wrote based on, what did I do with my notes?
City TV is Toronto's unconventional independent station.
He's the one who strangled the victims. He's the one who murdered the victims. Well,
And how long does it take you to get back to the station?
about 3 minutes.
It's the first time much of this story can be told publicly. From Bernardo's arrest in 1993 to legal wranglings, twists, and delays, it's been a case shrouded in court-ordered secrecy.
Paul Hunter was the lead reporter for the CBC.
I just wanted to see if she had horns and tail, red coming out of her eyes.
Well, I wanted to come down here and basically stare into the face of evil.
I came to see the modern-day Bonnie and Clyde.
We've got somebody saying, I came to see the modern-day Bonnie and Clyde. Great clip. Can we use it, though? Certainly he's the accused Clyde. I know Mrs. Mahaffey, because I see her every day. And she's crying about her daughter who got killed, who had her head cut this way. And it's like, you get shivers up and down your arms, down your back, down your legs, and you get tears in your eyes. And you're thinking, I'm a reporter. I gotta be straight, and I gotta write my notes here.
The Americans also covered the trial.
In the coming weeks, the jury will hear from Carla Homolka herself. She's expected to outline gruesome details of the murders in what has become Canada's trial of the century. In Toronto, Lisa Flynn, Eyewitness News. Biggest difference and the biggest hindrance is that we don't have cameras in the courts. Here, you feel like a newspaper reporter because you're writing down everything that's said, and you come out and actually get on camera yourself and testify, you know, as you will, to the American-Canadian public about what went on in that courtroom.
this part of the tour?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what do you tell them as you go by?
Well, we tell them about the case and that.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Big interest, eh?
In the Toronto Sun newsroom, reporters felt they had led the coverage since the murders. Trying to beat the competition, the Sun decided to run a special 12-page supplement on opening night of the trial. The decision pushed the paper to its limits.
Hello, this is Scott Burnside calling. How are you? Yeah, good. Just wondering what the status was on that. Oh, they weren't formatted properly? Thank you then. Bye-bye.
What's going on?
Another half hour for that disc.
Really?
Yeah. You read all the notes from Carla, and you see all the videotape that Bernardo shot, and the scripting, and that's why it has become a character study as opposed to a whodunit.
Shit, upside. Is that Mahaffey's husband?
Yeah, Dan.
Dan?
Yeah.
That's Debbie?
Scott and I probably know more about that case than any other journalist. And based on what I've seen and what I've been told, I form my opinion on that. Not just what I see in court. The facts aren't always the truth.
Thanks. We didn't see before. That's Dan Mahaffey. There's still about 8 prints still to come because the machine's busted and they're stuck in there.
We're very late for deadline. They're having trouble taking the stuff off the desk and then flowing it onto the page, and that's why we're about an hour and a half late at the moment.
I didn't.
Order after one. Done.
Eating sucks.
A night of shame.
The Sun sold up to 15,000 extra copies a day during the trial. At the heart of the case were crucial videotapes of rape and torture. The media wanted the tapes played in open court. The families said no. A horrified public watched the macabre struggle between the media's lawyers and the family's lawyers over the right to see the dying girl's last moments. The media lost and suffered a backlash from an outraged public.
Chief Justice Patrick Massage ruled today that courtroom spectators will not be allowed to view those sexually explicit videotapes. They will, however, be allowed to hear the audio portions of those videotapes.
David, you just made the ruling.
Okay, you say you don't...
The ruling left reporters, television in particular, scrambling to find pictures for their stories.
These are the things that I'm going to need sound-wise, okay? We have Rosen's walk by the Unimic saying no comment. We have Houlihan walking down the sidewalk saying no comment.
So what you're going to do with that whole thing is you're going to have to go to Rosen walking shot and then cover the rest with the various walking shots we have of Carla, every single one.
Yeah.
I'm still at the west door. Are you still want this covered?
Sure.
Okay.
Get it?
Peter's got it. Don't chase him. No families. Crown is fine. We're not chasing families. Let the Crown come this way.
TV decided to focus their daily photo ops on the lawyers. A deal was struck among reporters to give the victims' families privacy. For the Crown, the scrutiny was relentless.
Mr. Houlihan, can you tell us anything about what
Ray Houlihan appeared uncomfortable in the glare of the spotlight.
Paul Bernardo?
He tried to ignore the
Can you tell us
pack,
at all why the Crown
and tension
decided not to
quickly
proceed with
developed.
that in February of '95?
It's pathetic, and it's coming from, in my opinion, it's coming from somebody who doesn't really understand. This has, it may have happened in a small jurisdiction, but it's now turned into a big city case. And the environment of this case is big city, it's big media. And if he doesn't understand that, then he should join the 20th century.
If the Crown came down and said, hey, how's it going? You guys understand everything that's going on here? Can we make sure you've got the proper wording of the charges against Paul Bernardo? You know, if they did that, maybe they would be treated like human beings in the same way, that's really all that's going on between the defense and the media. They come down and they want to shoot the shit. Well, let's talk.
Okay. Let's go up to the Hunan. Hey, John, there's a better place than that.
His opponent, John Rosen, was more accessible. He was soon on a first-name basis with many reporters.
Thanks, man.
Question. None of us are going to break any rules here, because if we do, there's going to be a mistrial. We're not going to say anything that we can't say. You're not going to tell us stuff that you shouldn't tell us, and neither is the defense. You know, I mean, because in fact, all the telling a story about what's going on in there or explaining is just helping people understand.
Okay. First of all, just explain for me so I have it right.
It's my understanding, unless the laws have recently been changed, that a person is eligible for certain kinds of...
The defense became a regular source of desperately needed photographs.
Gee, weirdo, man. Weird look in his two eyes, eh? Can we get a dub of this whole thing?
So which is the time code on the original?
What we just got was photos
On the original,
of
1944.
Paul and Carla, the early days. We've got like 6 of them. And I've been able to sort of work their from someone somehow.
The originals are here. Hurry.
Here you go. You should know better than that. We're just on that, you know, on the bottom feeder's lowest of the lows. We're just above lawyer.
Just above, yeah. They were obtained yesterday. They're from 1987, I believe. You wouldn't believe how many photo albums they have. People took photographs of every part of their life.
Next. No, I wish these people learn how to focus when they're taking their pictures.
The picture in the Sun was an exhibit entered into court, and it was not released to the media. So it's a big surprise to us all today to see it on the front page of the Sun, and we're all kind of curious as to how they got it.
Of course, the Toronto Sun reporter doesn't have to disclose where they got that photo. It has caused more than a little stir here.
Oh my God. Do you know who did it? It is a Crown exhibit, is it not? It was a Crown exhibit, that's true.
These are pictures that could be extremely prejudicial to the accused. I mean, luckily a jury already has been picked, but the Crown certainly can't accuse anyone else of trying to try this case in the media instead of in the courtroom when their evidence is somehow leaking out, and they should be very concerned.
You know, cheese and pickle on the side, all the basic food groups covered. The fact that not everyone had access to the picture, I guess maybe that's what people are angry about. I think this picture is significant because it goes a long way to showing, because Carla Homolka says, oh, well, I was scared to death of them when I had to do these things. So. But no one's going to run autopsy pictures or anything like that.
They're photos. They're photos. They exist.
The Toronto Sun wouldn't say if this photo came from the prosecution, the police, or the hospital where it was taken. On the last day of May, the videotapes were finally played in court. Reporters heard the chilling sounds of the young girls being raped.
After a long waiting, we finally saw, or heard at least, the first video. But not much you can report because it was pretty graphic. The audio portion, anyhow. So this will be a challenge to write this story.
Bernardo and Homolka.
The CBC staff was under management orders to be especially careful.
You know, I don't know if I can say what it is, or if I can just say what it sounds like. You know what I mean?
Homolka was convicted of manslaughter in both deaths after a secret plea bargain with the Crown.
Okay, I'll do it. After reporting on the first takes, public anger forced the CBC's primetime news to back off the story for more than a week.
From a national point of view, when you've got people that are watching in Regina and Vancouver and Halifax and Yellowknife, we ask the question, are they that interested in the minute details? And, you know, when you factor in the sort of grotesqueness of these minute details, I think we all came to the decision that we don't need to cover it every single day.
The other networks and all print reporters continued to cover the story.
What we heard in the beginning of a 6-minute videotape, whispering voices, neither louder than the other, heavy breathing. Then by the 3rd minute, whimpering complaints from Carla, stern responses from Bernardo like, shut up, be quiet. And then, near the end, Bernardo, do it now, Homolka, no. Okay, fine.
But it was...
On June 19th, Carla Homolka's long-awaited testimony began.
Carla Homolka, saint or sinner?
Lady in the purple.
Our families are watching it horrified, going, oh my God, look at our children. This is what suburbia does to you. We come to trials like this.
Why should we take the media's word for anything? Why should we trust what they say at all? Why not see it for ourselves and decide for ourselves? I mean, this whole thing is a huge media circus, so that we become audience members. What's questionable about that? I mean, that's our rule.
12 years, no more charges against her, and she testifies against him, which is what today is.
You want to say all that, right?
Well, if I don't say that, what am I saying? I can't.
You go into court, and you're writing. From the moment you sit down, the moment they start talking, you're just sort of taking the information into your head and out your fingers and onto your pad all day, all day. You come out here and you got like half an hour, and if I'm filing for Midday or some other show, you're just trying to filter it out, and you get slam bam, you know, it's done, try to get in there, and you're writing and writing and writing and writing, and then you come out, it's like, whoa, I've got 6 hours of information that I've now got to compress into 2 minutes. I mean, it's really hard.
This house is a, quote, Venus flytrap, unquote, to catch young girls.
You getting lots of extra business with the trial? No. Everybody's making money but you.
In addition to their daily coverage, the Sun team was also writing a book on the murders.
You know, the fact that they sort of don't look at each other, and the fact that she gets in, it's almost the first thing she says is that, yes, Paul Bernardo killed those girls with an electrical cord.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for, isn't it?
You do that as your main story and sort of set up the courtroom stuff, you know, people lining up, and then I think you can just break them out, having a big long story on the relationship, right? You know, how it goes from princess to bitch slut.
Princess to bitch slut ass,
yeah.
I agree, like, get the parts in about the strangling. I mean, that's the number one thing, but why was she there? I guess that's, you know, this is what happened, he strangled them, why is she there?
I was afraid, but part of me still loved him. I didn't think it would last. But, she said, the abuse did last. There was even a Polaroid photo of Bernardo having sex with Homolka, holding a knife to her head. She posed, she said, because that's what he wanted her to do.
In the CBC newsroom that night, Hunter's story about Homolka's testimony was carefully scrutinized. It was also the hottest night of the summer.
I have not stopped sweating from the date, from the minute this date again. Hi, sorry, it's a time emergency. It's 10 to 8 already. It's like 110 degrees in here. It's going insane. They've got air conditioner guys trying to fix the place.
You don't come face to face with your former wife or your whatever the circumstances. Don't you think?
Well, it's just leading into what's coming up. So when she sits down...
Haven't been face to face? You make it sound like they're debating partners.
Any other questions?
No, this is terrific. Go lay it down.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, bye.
Oh, hang on. What about the streeters? Are you okay with all those streeters? They're kind of... do you have any problems with them? I thought you might.
I mean, we're talking about her. She's already been convicted.
Yeah, she's convicted. That's what I said. Yeah. Okay,
I'm not saying anything that's prejudicial to him.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye.
But Carla Homolka wasn't charged in the death of her sister, nor will she be charged in any other crime she's admitted to. It's all part of a deal she struck with the Crown in exchange for one thing, her testimony against Paul Bernardo.
Carla Homolka took the stand, faced her former husband, and began pouring out a horrible tale.
It was high courtroom drama and the first direct evidence of who killed the girls.
But because of her admitted role.
Now they've got it.
Hello? Yeah.
Minutes before airtime, they learned there was a technical problem with their videotape.
There was a shift in the video to Paul Standen.
Huh?
Tell them we're like with the heating out.
Where our heat's out or AC's out.
Right. So I wonder if we have to fucking...
we might have to cut the item back.
This down.
The rack out there may be fried.
The whole thing. Good evening. The entire trial of Paul Bernardo has been building towards this day.
Can we get this open quickly? It's an emergency. I need to get in. Can I see your pass, please? Oh, man. Bureaucracy lives on.
This is fine. We just played it back last week. It's fine. Now.
Okay.
Mom, Dad, Lori, and Carla Homolka with her fiancé, Paul Bernardo, taking the video. A year in the Christmas, Danny Homolka, slurring her words, sits on the couch. She died that night.
I find this as chilling to report on.
Oh, yes.
To sit down and watch.
No, you know, I find it more chilling to sit and watch it. You know, it's when you sit there and you're doing the story all day long. You're caught up in putting the story together, and you sit and watch it. And when she said she sits and watches and strangle the girls, you know, that's I gotta take a phone call.
You can take it down to ask for here. Talk to you.
Hi.
Across Lake Ontario and St. Catharines, where the murders took place, the coverage had particular relevancy. The Standard has been the town newspaper for over a century. Anne Marie Owens was their sole reporter assigned to the story. She worked alone, filing her copy in isolation from an apartment in downtown Toronto.
When I'm sitting in that courtroom, I feel like it's very surreal. And you know, what am I doing in terms of justice? Looking at these letters that a couple wrote to each other, looking at notes, looking at explicit sexual photographs. There's a really bizarre feeling you have sitting in there and being exposed to it. But because of the way the case is unfolding, it is a crucial part of the case. And our job, I guess, as the media is sort of conveying why it's important. In St. Catharines, you don't really feel that excitement at the big story. They read everything and they want to know everything that happened, but it's just something awful they want to know about and they want to get on.
We need to know that we're safe and that there won't be people like him out on the street, and that he's put away and can't do it again.
It bothers me a little bit that there's 2 pages every day wallowing in it. I mean, it's everyone has interest in it because it's such a supremely evil act that happened. But part of me wishes that it wouldn't be so much in the forefront.
We just lived down the street, and I spoke to him once. Yeah? And it gives you the chills, you know. And then, like, even when I walk by right now and I think about what went on in that house, I think, you know, it's a scary feeling, you know.
We've lived with this around the corner, and it doesn't take much imagination to figure out what went on.
I don't think people are going to forget about it that easily.
I guess we're all horrified that this went on in our neighborhood and nobody had any clue that it was going on. There was people around here with cameras or people stopping to look at it and just look at the house and say, yeah, that's the house of horrors.
No, I'm from
I'm from St. Thomas.
I'm from London.
Checking it out here.
We want to go in the backyard and look in the windows because the windows are open.
I just want to take a look. That's all. Just the fact that he killed 2 people in here.
They should do to her what they did to both those two girls. Yeah. Make her suffer.
I think you should have more coverage on it. Yep. Find out every single thing that there is to find out, and then nail them with it.
But first, we must caution you on disturbing content.
As the trial progressed, reporters faced issues of taste and language they had rarely confronted before.
It's not like fucking, it's like a fucking stupid, like it's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't dwell on the word.
Homolka said appearances are deceiving as she watched herself perform fellatio and analingus on the accused.
She says, I did. He goes deep, and she says, I did, and then she says it's fucking disgusting.
You know, this is a dead person we're talking about her period, now we're talking about fingers, and periods have to do with vaginas, and it's going to come, that's where really the description of the type of sexual assault you have to read between the lines.
Some of the material that you'd asked not to be...
The Sun team also had their copy carefully edited for language.
They then took references to the menstruation out of our news copy. They felt that was enough without going over it and saying, essentially rubbing the public's nose in it, and I didn't have a problem with that.
I have to be very conscious of not going over the line, and I can't say to you, this is the line. And it's not that simple, but I know sometimes if our paper was running pages of transcripts of their letters, that really, you know, some stuff that's titillating, that's bizarre, that's strange, that speaks volumes about the relationship, but in a way doesn't tell us much about the murders of the girls. I think our readers then would probably start protesting before maybe other readers or other audiences would.
Calling the headboard CBC News to rock. I said, no, I didn't want to. He said, you're going to do it. I knew I could do it and get it over with, or I could be beaten and do it anyway. So I did it. And Houlihan says, you ate his feces? And she says, yes, I did.
What do you think about that? Is that it's like, on the one hand, it's so gross. But on the other hand, it's like sort of the ultimate. Well, I guess it's not. Her committing the crimes is probably the ultimate indicator of control, if that's true.
Is there a CBC policy on eating shit? I think feces.
Does CBC have a policy on eating shit?
Well, I'm asking.
We're not really supposed to.
Feces as excrement? What's the word?
I said X. Oh, well. Feces? Who says feces?
Thanks, but we're going to go with the courtrooms.
Is there a policy? You know what you said. Does CBC have a policy on eating shit?
Because, that's not what I meant.
Well, it's a 6 o'clock audience. I don't think they need to hear taste it, you know? Or put your finger in it, or things like that. I mean, I don't want to hear that.
But there was someone who did want to hear more. The Jerry Springer tabloid talk show sent a producer from the U.S. looking for interviews.
Normally what we do when we do a prison show is we bring the families of the victims. They're on stage in Chicago, live with the host, and the prisoner is on a satellite TV where the people on stage and Jerry can ask questions. Prisoners and criminals and everybody in America wants the attention. They probably think, what's the sense of being a criminal if you can't get famous? I wouldn't think Paul Bernardo's any different. I would think that he would want to be famous in America. I think he would want it. I think he would want to do the show. I just don't know if his lawyers, the Canadian system would allow him to.
You might get him. You might get him.
On the morning of July 4th, the cross-examination of Karla Homolka began.
So how are we doing? It's a nice day, isn't it? Better than doing this in the winter.
The media and the public sat riveted as John Rosen savaged her story of being a battered wife.
We started believing we were right for each other because when Karla used to say, wait a minute, everyone be quiet, I have announcements made. No one would listen, but I would put my arm out and say, I'm listening, Karla.
Yeah, well, you look at Carla's face while he's saying this, and it's sort of an ironic, sort of forced smile, but then he makes the joke.
The best way to do the story would be to tell it with the same amount of zeal Rosen approached this cross-examination with. If the camera's Carla Homolka, just held that picture up to her like this, and he said, "Who is that? Who is that?" And she said, "Tammy Homolka." "That's your sister, that's correct. Who's this?" And it was the autopsy picture of Tammy Homolka. And he just drove right into it right away, and he said, "That's after you dragged her across the carpet and you and Paul sexually assaulted her. Isn't that correct? Isn't that correct?"
The reason it felt so good to watch it, I think, is because those are all the questions that we've wanted to ask Carla Homolka. You know, I mean, we've wanted to take a picture of her dead sister and stick it under her nose and say, you know, what the fuck is this? And that's essentially what Rosen did.
To Artisan columnist Christy Blatchford was one of the few reporters who could write what she felt. Her strong opinions about Homolka's role in the murders opened a rift in the Sun team.
Point is, you don't kill 3 people, go off, say, "Oh, my conscience bothering me," and have sex with the first person you meet. I mean, it doesn't see that.
She probably was disgusted at what they were doing and wanted to get out, but there was this... I wonder why, whenever I offer a suggestion, why everybody fights me on it. I'm sure this is his moment now. This is his turn. This is all he wants, is to get Carla up there and squirm. That is John Rosen's mandate. And they don't want explanations. They just want to say, was it right or wrong? Was it black or white? And they don't want to say, they don't want to listen to anybody who says it was wrong, it's not excusable, but hey, what about this? What about that? If her whole story is true, I bet you she wishes now that she stood up more to Paul in the same way that she stood up to John Rosen. She's tough. I think she likes it.
When I've done things I've been ashamed of, not that often and not serious stuff, things that you wish you hadn't done, you hurt somebody really bad, hurt them. My reaction was not to go out and get my hair done, fuck somebody else or something. I mean, my reaction was to torture myself a little bit and say, why did I do that? Why did I say that? It's easier at this moment in time to write about her in terms of what the lawyers will let you get away with because she's convicted. He's only accused, so that's part of the reason that I spend so much time on her, because I can't slander her. I mean, she's a convicted murderer. What, I say she's a slut, she's going to sue me? I don't think so. I'm in no way a person who ever feels victimized. And yet this trial, I mean, essentially everywhere you look, women are victims. There are dead girls, there are girls who have been drugged unconscious and raped, and now they're telling us we've got a convicted murderer who's a victim too. And I don't buy it. I mean, I think you have free will and you have to exercise it, and she didn't do it.
I was just thinking about my story today that I was probably harder on Carla Homolka than I had to be. Because somewhere in the body of my story I didn't say she survived, you know? She survived a grueling cross-examination from one of the best lawyers in the country.
Well, yeah, and that's part of it. I mean, I've talked to columnists who've gotten letters like that saying, you know, if you want to talk about abuse, let me tell you what, you know, my father did to me over 20 years, and I never killed anyone. I don't suspect there's ever an easy answer as to why women stay, but this is not just a woman who stayed, this is a woman who went on and killed. And society as a whole has very little experience with that. And I think that's why we're seeing the kind of reaction we're seeing from members of the public and in ourselves.
I think Carla Homolka is twice as sick as Paul Bernardo.
My piece is on battered women, and you know, and the fact that women have been sort of the way the victims are on trial here. We're going to the trial. A piece on the fact that women, by and large, seem to be on trial here, but the victims are on trial. Whether it's Leslie for being headstrong and smoking this thing, or Pastor Curfew, or Debbie Mahaffey for locking the door, and Kristen French for wearing the black bra. I mean,
I've never heard that one.
Well, it's been mentioned. Like, I don't even know why we know that.
And I think that it's not so much that the trial is exploiting women and is putting women on trial. I think that it's the trial in many ways is a reflection of what our society is. And we're just talking about extremes.
Here's this normal woman, what's wrong with her? So what I've started to do now is look at her from the assumption that she
is a killer, which she is. She's up there, she's guilty of murder. And I find personally it's easier for me to deal with. It's easier for me to rationalize her involvement when I start from the premise that she's a killer.
But I'm really tired of the questions of what's wrong with them, these women. When the question is what's wrong with him. This is a story I think about. I don't talk about. It's a story that my friends don't talk about.
Hi, Paul. It's Studio 51. Can you hear us?
As the trial wore on, everyone began to suffer what they called
Zoom 4, ready
Bernardo
for
burnout.
Q.
Why am I here? Why are we participating in this? Why are we watching this? Mrs. Mahaffey will sit there at times. She'll just close her eyes and she'll put her hand on her chest. She cries all the time. It takes a charged atmosphere and moves it one notch higher. It's hard to take sometimes.
Having the notepad there is a protector, you know, like you can, because you're writing, you're still feeling it, and you may still be crying, but it's not the same kind of reaction emotionally you would have if you were just listening to it and sitting there.
You can't wear your professional mask all the time. I mean, I went through this in her trial too. I mean, the victim impact statements that those mothers read were just gripping. I mean, you know, and you couldn't be human and not cry. And there have been times in there, sure, it's difficult, it's awful. I've cried myself when I've heard the voices of those girls in pain. I found that I have, and I hate to use this expression because this is Carla's expression, but I have become numbed a little bit.
Hopefully it never deadens you or dulls you so much that by being so immersed in your work that you forget, that you don't feel anymore.
Everybody asks me, are you okay? You know, how's this affecting you? Are you all right? And I don't know. How would I know? What would I look for? I don't know. But everybody asks me. I don't know.
Let me check and see. I need the French.
When she describes all the pieces, and you think, this is awful, but I know this. And then, you know, the last one was the head. And she goes on to something else, and her hand stops her and goes, was there anything about the head that he said? Or something like that. And she stops her narrative and goes, yes. She goes, what was that? She goes, Paul said he was surprised at how light it was, and that it just plopped into the cement. You know, and Mrs. Mahaffey has got her face buried in her hands, and you're getting body shivers all up and down your back, and it's like you want to cry. It's just, and you knew all that story, you knew all that information, except that last little bit. You know what, I think did I say this last night, that sometimes I wonder why we're there? You know, and you think that sometimes, you think, we know all this. Above and beyond the fact that why the hell are we all here? There's enough evidence there now, it seems to me. You know, it's like we know basically what happened. We know basically who did it.
All eyes are now on accused killer Paul Bernardo in a downtown courtroom as he's taken the witness stand in his own defense. 680's Bob Nichols reports.
The real issue, Rosen says, is who killed them. Rosen says this trial was like a jigsaw puzzle, and Bernardo is the final piece of that puzzle.
When Bernardo finally appeared, John Rosen was still available for his daily photo op. But the camaraderie was gone, and tempers were short.
Hi, what's the problem? Yes, just take it where it stops, Paul. Just take it where it stops, okay? Oh, God. What are you hanging up on me for? Oh, my God. I swear to God, I'm gonna have an ulcer. Now.
Bernardo's testimony was methodically covered. but few reporters believed his evidence. Finally, the jury was sequestered.
After all these months of countless details, today nothing matters except for guilty or not guilty, how long it took the jury to reach that decision, if they reach it today. And then what you want to see is how the family is reacting, what the lawyers are reacting. That's it. That's the end of the story.
Normal. They live such normal lives.
You've got reams of videotape and 75 brand new pictures and all kinds of stuff that you would have loved to have had months ago. Even though you sort of know what's there, you don't have time to go through it.
A flood of new material was released, including Bernardo's so-called suicide tape.
We were a good team. We were great, man. United we stand, together we fall. Carla! Hey, Car! My time's up. Gotta go see Tammy.
Gonna go see Tammy.
No! No!
Mayor of St. Catharines is on live on Newsworld. Yes.
Apparently there's a verdict. Yep. That's what they're saying inside. Anyway, that guy says there's a verdict, the guy there with the phone.
All nine? All nine. Okay. Hello? Hello? Can anybody hear me? All 9 counts guilty.
Bulletin. He has been found guilty on all counts, including first-degree murder. First-degree murder. Guilty on all 9. She is coming over. I'll tell you, this is certainly emotional time.
Randy, you're in position.
They don't want any violence.
Don't touch the bag.
Back it up, please. Back it up. Go get it.
What did you see in the first van? Did you see anything in the first van?
I got rid of it. I don't know. I tried side window.
The second van could just get in and all the fuck off.
Okay, except that the answer to the first one is partly, oh fuck, here comes the families. Oh fuck.
Please give them space. Please give them space. Okay. Excuse me, can you please give them space or else this won't happen? Guys, come on.
It's been over 3 years since our daughter was taken from us.
Mr. Francis, if you could get closer to the microphone, sir. Thank you very much.
Difficult and painful time. Finally today, with the guilty verdict, especially the guilty verdict for first-degree murder of our daughter. Now we would appreciate the opportunity to have some privacy for a period of time to come to terms
Chuck, you're blocking each other. Donna French, you can back
After a
off.
time of reflection, we will be willing to speak to you all.
Get down lower then. Gotta do something.
Finally, and as always, our final words for our daughter.
Bit more.
With the trial over, Christy, you can't be hurt anymore. We love you.
As Paul Bernardo begins his 25-year sentence, the Crown is seeking to declare him a dangerous offender so that he would never leave prison. Carla Homolka is eligible to apply for parole in 1997. The city of St. Catharines wants to tear down 57 Bayview.
I don't know if we'll ever learn anything from it, and I guess that's the problem. At the end of it, will we know, oh yes, this is why this happened? I don't know if we will.
Do
do we really have to put a nation and a province and everybody else through this? And you know, as a Democrat, as somebody who believes in democracy, you have to say yes.
The fact is, this is the society we live in. These are neighbors of ours. These are people who live in a town down the highway doing these things. If we don't know this, if we don't want to know this, I think there's something wrong.